Out here, 17 light years from Earth, Captain Lillian Carver thought her life on a quiet mining station would never change. Until the morning, she stepped into the agricultural dome and found something waiting that should not exist. A creature with golden eyes, shimmering scales, and a presence that would drag her into the most impossible choice humanity has ever faced. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. Captain Lillian Carver had been living on the remote mining station Aurora 9 for 3 long years. Every morning felt the same. The hum of the life support systems, the quiet hallways, and the emptiness of space pressing just beyond the walls. Her routine had become her anchor. Rise at dawn, check the agricultural dome, and tend to the genetically adapted livestock that kept the crew alive. The agricultural dome was her favorite place. While others preferred the machinery of the mining decks, Lillian found comfort in the smell of hydroponic plants and the steady rhythm of caring for the animals. The livestock had been designed to survive low gravity and produce nutrients that humans needed on deep space missions. Tending to them reminded her of Earth, of simpler days before the endless stars became her reality. That morning, however, something felt different. As she keyed in her access code and the dome's airlock opened with a familiar hiss, Lillian sensed an unusual stillness. The artificial dawn cycle had just begun, painting the room in soft blue light. Her boots echoed against the metal floor as she walked toward the feeding troughs, expecting to see her favorite goat already waiting for breakfast. But what she saw instead made her stop in her tracks. Perched on the edge of the trough was a creature she had never seen before. It was no larger than a small dog, but its body shimmered with scales that shifted from deep violet to bright electric blue. Folded wings clung tightly to its sides, and a long, narrow tail curled beneath it like a cat at rest. Its eyes caught her first. Large, golden, and full of awareness, they locked onto her with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. This was not a mindless animal. There was intelligence there, curiosity mixed with something almost human. Lillian froze, her breath catching in her throat. The security systems of Aurora 9 were advanced enough to detect the smallest intrusion. Yet this being had appeared inside one of the most secure sections without triggering a single alarm. How had it come here? The creature tilted its head, studying her. Then it made a soft chirping sound, gentle yet layered with a strange vibration that rattled through the metal grating beneath her feet. It didn't run, it didn't hiss, it simply watched, waiting for her next move. Slowly, Lillian lifted her hand, palm open as if to signal peace. "Hello there," she whispered, her voice unsteady. The creature's frills, not quite ears, but thin ridges that lined its head, twitched at her voice. It blinked once, then leaned forward slightly. Lillian took a careful step closer, her boots scraping lightly against the floor. Up close, she could see details that made the creature even more extraordinary. Its scales seemed to glow faintly, as if powered by a hidden energy source. Faint patterns rippled across them, forming constellations like star maps. But as she studied it more closely, she noticed something else. It looked thin, too thin. The wings trembled with a weakness that suggested hunger or exhaustion. "Aren't you?" The creature answered with another soft sound, almost like a purr mixed with a whistle. Lillian carefully backed away, keeping her eyes on it as she moved toward the storage locker where emergency supplies were kept. Her fingers trembled as she unlocked it, pulling out a collapsible water bowl and a container of protein-enriched feed pellets meant for the livestock. When she turned back, the creature was still perched on the trough, watching her every move. She set the water bowl down and poured fresh water from her canteen. The creature sniffed the air, its throat moving as though it were already swallowing in anticipation. "Go on," Lillian said softly, gesturing toward the bowl. With a motion so smooth it seemed unnatural, the creature leapt down from the trough and landed near the water. It lowered its head and drank quickly, its long forked tongue lapping up every drop. Lillian knelt nearby, amazed at how ordinary the moment felt. Like watching a stray animal find relief after days of thirst, she scattered some feed pellets across the floor, unsure if the creature would accept them. To her surprise, it picked one up with delicate claws, turning it over like a human examining food before eating. Then it bit into the pellet with sharp teeth and chewed thoughtfully, as if savoring the taste. Watching this, Lillian realized she wasn't simply feeding a strange animal. She was standing face to face with something extraordinary, something intelligent. She crouched lower, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where did you come from?" The creature paused, golden eyes shining as though it understood the question. Then it chirped again, this time with a softer, almost apologetic sound. The silence of the dome wrapped around them, heavy and charged. Lillian Carver, officer of Aurora 9, knew in that moment that her life had changed. She had discovered something that should not exist, a visitor from beyond the known stars, and it had found her first. Lillian Carver did not sleep after finding the mysterious creature in the agricultural dome. The vision of golden eyes and glowing scales kept replaying in her mind. It had eaten, it had drunk water, and it had even studied her as though trying to understand her. She knew this was no ordinary discovery, yet she could not handle it alone. The thought of reporting directly to the corporation filled her with dread. She knew too well how they treated resources. To them, this would be nothing more than property, a specimen to exploit. Lillian needed someone she could trust. She activated her wrist communicator and called Dr. Marcus Hayden, the station's chief biologist. Marcus was brilliant, but often cynical, and he had spent years chasing research that no one on Aurora 9 valued. "Marcus," she said, her voice tight, "I need you to come to the agricultural dome. Bring your scanner." He sounded groggy, as though she had woken him from rare sleep. "Lillian, do you know what time it is?" "Just trust me, this is different." After a long pause, Marcus sighed. "Fine, but this better not be another malfunctioning goat feeder." Minutes later, the dome's airlock opened and Marcus stepped inside. His hair was disheveled, his lab coat thrown over sleep clothes, and he clutched a half-empty cup of synthetic coffee. "All right," he muttered. "What's so important that you dragged me out here at dawn?" Lillian only pointed toward the feeding trough. The creature sat calmly, golden eyes fixed on Marcus as though already judging him. Its tail curled neatly beneath its body, wings tucked tight. The coffee slipped from Marcus's hand, clattering onto the floor. What in the stars is that?" he whispered. "That," Lillian said steadily, "is what I found sitting here this morning." Marcus stared, mouth slightly open. Then, as though instinct had taken over, he lifted his portable scanner. The device hummed, lights flickering as it captured readings. The creature tilted its head, curious, and even stepped closer to inspect the blinking display. Marcus frowned at the screen. "This can't be right." "What does it say?" Lillian asked. "It says the mass is fluctuating," he replied, his voice shaking. "No life form should read like this. It's as though it isn't fully anchored in our reality." Lillian knelt beside the creature, her voice gentle. "It doesn't seem dangerous. It was weak, hungry, and it let me feed it." "Weak or not," Marcus said quickly, "this is the discovery of the century. Do you realize what this means? Confirmed alien life. Intelligent alien life. This changes everything." Lillian looked at the dragon-like being. It was now grooming itself, licking its shimmering scales with deliberate care. "If we send this to the corporation, they'll lock it away. They'll dissect it." Marcus hesitated. His scientific drive clashed with his loyalty to her. Maybe, he admitted, but we can't keep this secret forever. Earth Command needs to know. The creature chirped suddenly, startling them both. It moved toward Lillian and pressed its warm snout against her palm. She could feel the faint vibration again, like a deep purr resonating through her hand. "You see?" she said softly. "It trusts me." Marcus watched, his scanner forgotten at his side. "It chose you." They stood in silence for a moment, the hum of the dome systems filling the air. Lillian could see the conflict in Marcus's eyes. His instincts told him to share the discovery with the wider world. But he knew the truth in her words. The corporation would never treat the creature as more than property. "We need to study it ourselves," Marcus said finally. "If we document everything, its behavior, its diet, its abilities, we'll have evidence strong enough to demand protections. Maybe then we can keep it safe." Lillian nodded slowly. "But we can't let anyone else know. Not yet. Not until we understand what it really is." The creature seemed to understand their conversation. It chirped again and padded to the corner of the dome, curling up near the heating vent like a small child seeking comfort. Its scales glowed faintly in the artificial light, casting patterns on the walls. Marcus rubbed his forehead. "This thing doesn't just belong in our biology books. Lillian, it may be connected to something far bigger. If those readings are real, we're not just looking at a new species. We're looking at technology, biology that bends the rules of physics." Lillian studied the dragon's breathing, the rise and fall steady now after food and water. Then maybe it didn't just wander here. Maybe it came for a reason. Marcus shook his head, still staring at his scanner. Or maybe it was sent. For a moment, both of them stood quietly, the weight of their discovery pressing down on them. In 3 years on Aurora 9, the most exciting event had been a drone malfunction. Now, in the space of one morning, everything had changed. Neither of them could predict how far the consequences would reach. And yet, Lillian felt certain of one thing. The creature wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of something much larger. The alarms shattered the fragile calm of Aurora 9. The steady hum of the mining station was replaced with urgent sirens and flashing amber lights. Captain Lillian Carver and Dr. Marcus Hayden froze in the agricultural dome, both staring at the baby dragon curled near the heating vent. The automated voice of the station's artificial intelligence echoed through the speakers. "Unidentified object approaching. All personnel to emergency stations." Marcus dropped his scanner in shock. "Lillian, this can't be a coincidence. It has to be connected." The creature lifted its head, golden eyes wide, wings twitching nervously. It let out a low, trembling sound that carried the weight of fear. Lillian felt her chest tighten. Somehow, the small dragon knew what was happening. "We can't leave it here," Lillian said, scooping the creature into her arms. Its body was warm, trembling against her chest. "Come on, we need to get to the command deck." The corridors of Aurora 9 were chaos. Crew members rushed past, their faces tight with fear. No one stopped to question why Lillian carried something that looked alive and alien. The alarms demanded their focus. Marcus led her through a side passage to avoid the main crowd. "If that ship is hostile, the corporation will order a full lockdown." Lillian shook her head. "Hostile or not, they're here for this little one. I can feel it." The station trembled, as though struck by a passing wave. Lights flickered, and the metallic walls groaned under stress. The dragon whimpered, burying its snout against Lillian's shoulder. They reached the command deck, where Commander Darius Voss stood at the central console. His tall frame was rigid, his eyes locked on the main display. The screen showed the stars outside and the object that had arrived. It was not a human ship. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The vessel was massive, dwarfing Aurora 9. Its surface pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, glowing blues and greens, shifting like living skin. It moved with fluid grace, as though it were alive. "What in the void is that?" Voss muttered, his voice strained. Lillian stepped forward, the dragon clutching her tighter. "Commander, I think it's here for this." She gently adjusted her arms so the small creature was visible. Every officer on the deck turned, eyes widening. Before Voss could respond, the main display flickered. Static filled the screen, then cleared, revealing a face. It was elongated, covered in shimmering scales that caught the light. Golden eyes stared out at them, ancient and furious. A voice filled the command deck, not through the speakers, but directly in their minds. "You have taken our child." Crew members gasped. Some staggered back. Lillian stood frozen, the baby dragon pressing closer to her. "We didn't take it," she said firmly, her voice louder than she felt. "I found it here, alone and hungry." The alien's eyes narrowed, and the mental voice sharpened with anger. "Our child's signal vanished. Its essence cries with distress. You lie." The baby dragon chirped suddenly, a cascade of sounds filled with urgency. Lillian felt the vibration of its call against her chest. The alien paused, tilting its head in the same way the creature often did. A softer tone entered its voice. "You fed our young. You offered care." Marcus leaned forward, whispering to Lillian. "It's listening. It's actually listening." The alien's gaze swept across the humans in the command deck, but returned to Lillian. "Our kind bond deeply. The young one has chosen you. This connection cannot be undone without pain." Voss spoke, his voice steady but edged with caution. "What are you asking of us?" The alien's expression hardened. "Return our child, or your station will suffer the consequences." The command deck fell silent. Every officer's eyes moved between Lillian, the alien on the screen, and the trembling dragon in her arms. Lillian's voice broke the silence. "I don't want to keep your child from you, but look at it. It's scared. It's weak. If I hadn't found it, it might not have survived. I didn't steal it. I protected it." The alien's golden eyes softened, but its voice carried deep gravity. "This bond is rare among your kind. Compassion where fear is expected. The young one speaks of trust. This must be honored." Marcus whispered urgently, "Lillian, this is first contact. Not with weapons, not with politics, but with kindness." "You've already set the tone." The alien ship shifted outside, glowing panels pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The voice echoed once more. "You, human called Lillian, must decide. The bond will shape the path between our worlds. Your actions will speak for all of your kind." Lillian's pulse thundered in her ears. The dragon chirped again, eyes shining with hope. Aurora 9 had become the center of something no one had imagined. Humanity's first encounter with another intelligent species was no longer a dream of distant centuries. It was happening now, in this fragile, dangerous moment, and it was happening because of her. The command deck of Aurora 9 was silent except for the hum of the systems and the faint echo of alarms still fading in the distance. On the screen, the alien's golden eyes stayed fixed on Captain Lillian Carver. In her arms, the baby dragon trembled, its warmth and quiet vibrations flowing into her like a second heartbeat. Commander Darius Voss stood with arms folded, his face pale. "Captain," he said in a low voice, "this is bigger than anything we've faced. Your decision matters more than orders or protocol." Lillian swallowed hard. She was an officer trained to follow rules, not to carry the weight of humanity's first contact. Yet every instinct told her she had already stepped into a role far greater than her station rank. The alien voice filled the deck again, resonating inside their minds. "Our young one has chosen you. Bonds such as these cannot be ignored. You must choose. Allow the bond to continue, or return our child and watch it wither." Marcus Hayden, still holding his scanner, leaned close. "If you refuse, they'll take the child and leave. But if you accept, you'll be more than a guardian. You'll become a bridge between species." The dragon chirped softly, pressing its head against Lillian's chest. She could feel its longing, its fear, and something more, a spark of trust that reached beyond words. "I'm no diplomat," Lillian said quietly. "I'm just an officer who feeds livestock on a mining station." Marcus shook his head. "That's exactly why it chose you. Not for power, not for knowledge, but for compassion. That's what humanity needs to show right now." Commander Voss stepped forward, his deep voice steady. "Carver, I've seen you in action. You make hard choices with a clear head. If anyone here deserves this responsibility, it's you. But understand this. Once you decide, there's no turning back." The alien ship outside pulsed with light, glowing patterns rippling like waves. The voice came again. "Our child will remain bonded to you. If you choose to walk away, the connection will fracture, causing suffering to both. If you choose to stay, you will be part of us, and we will be part of you. One life rotation is all you have to decide." Time seemed to slow. Lillian looked around the command deck. Fear lined the crew's faces, but so did hope. For 3 years, she had thought her posting on Aurora 9 was nothing more than routine work in an isolated corner of the galaxy. Now, the entire future of human and alien relations rested on her decision. She turned her gaze to the baby dragon. It looked up at her with eyes that gleamed like molten gold, filled with a depth she could hardly understand. In that moment, she felt something new. Not just its emotions, but an echo of her own, reflected back at her through their bond. "If I accept," Lillian asked, her voice steady, "what happens next?" The alien's eyes narrowed slightly, then softened. "You will walk between worlds. You will live among us, and our child will live among your kind. Knowledge will be shared. Trust will be tested. The bond will guide you, but you must honor it. It is sacred." Voss frowned. "You're suggesting an exchange? Our officer in your world, your child in ours?" The alien inclined its head. "Yes, it is how trust is built. You call it diplomacy. We call it life," Marcus whispered, almost in awe. "This could change everything. Technology, culture, understanding, centuries of questions answered." Lillian felt the weight of their words, but more than that, she felt the weight of the dragon leaning into her, trusting her completely. She knew, deep inside, that if she handed it back now, the bond would break both of them. She straightened, her decision clear. "I will honor the bond. I will go with you, and your child will stay with us, under my care and under the care of this crew." A ripple of energy pulsed across the alien's face, almost like a smile. "Then it is done. The bridge is formed." The baby dragon let out a bright, ringing trill that filled the command deck, a sound of relief and joy. The crew exchanged stunned glances, some smiling despite themselves. Commander Voss exhaled slowly, as though releasing the tension of the entire station. "Then so be it. Captain Carver, you've just become humanity's first ambassador." Lillian looked down at the dragon, now nestled in her arms with complete trust. She stroked its scales gently, her voice quiet but resolute. "Then let this be the start of something better for both our worlds." As the alien ship glowed brighter outside and the crew whispered in awe, Lillian Carver realized her life had shifted forever. Not through battle, not through conquest, but through a choice rooted in compassion. And somewhere in the silence between stars, a fragile new future had begun.